Next order would be approval of the, last session on February the 2nd, 2026.
So maybe,
Second.
yeah.
Vote yes. Public comment period, anything from the county sheriff, I don't see him here. Brookside,
Nothing new to report.
Worthington Hills,
Nothing new.
upcoming Ravello.
No, they have a board meeting on Friday.
Anything else on the public comment? Zoning,
Nothing to report.
Oh, do you know?
nothing under zoning?
Oh, there is something under zoning, sorry. It's twice I've done that. We just need to, I need the board to give me the authority to go ahead and renew the membership of folks on both the zoning commission and the BZA boards who have expired.
Reappointing.
We're reappointing those same people to the board. We're going to ask them, if they turn us down, they want to go find additional.
I move, Mr. Chairman, to reappoint, current members, whose terms are expiring on the zoning commission and the board of zoning appeals.
Second, vote
Yes.
yes.
And that's it.
Anything else under zoning?
Nope.
Road department. Speaker John Galvin.
You got some expenditures, right?
Yeah.
What's your time?
Okay.
Can we do real quick?
Oh, yeah, don't rush on mine.
Part 3 repairs, I would like to ask the board's approval to move forward with PFM fleet services on the repairs. And it costs not to exceed $28,466.66.
About 29,000.
That's what my cost.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the expenditure of not to exceed $29,000 for the repair of truck number 3.
I'll second vote,
Did that.
yes.
Yes.
And then service provider. I'd like motion to declare the items listed obsolete for disposal or auction.
Mr. Chairman, I move to declare the listed items on the agenda from the road department obsolete, no longer needed for public use, unfit for the use acquired and or having no value to the township, and authorize the disposal by auction, dumpster, or scrapping.
Second, vote
Yes.
yes.
Chief, what do you got? Yeah,
Are we doing, please?
yeah, go ahead. Real quick. We're moving on.
We've run across an issue that I explained to Administrator Petrosi about on AEDs. We're going to apply for the firehouse sub safety grant to replace our AED. Which that opens on April, so we'll be applying for that. The new business, the other thing I have is we have been asked to apply for accreditation through the HOG Collaborative. We meet all the criteria for their standard of excellence. They've asked us to go through the accreditation process. So we're going to probably start that process here in the next couple of weeks.
Do you need any action by the board?
No,
Okay.
just kind of keep you.
Okay.
There'll be on-site assessors and other things here at some point.
Is Paul still on the firehouse subs place? Okay. We need to make an order to them. Okay. We're on administrator.
Well, before we do that, I mean, is there any updates on where the status is with the flock program?
No.
I have some concerns.
We're just, you have concerns?
Well, I've had concerns about these, as you know, but I'm not sure exactly where it stands. I missed a meeting, so it may be discussed.
In the permitting phase right now, we're doing the project improvement and they're just looking at locations. They're looking at permits for the locations that we chose.
What's the timeline, chief, on everything? So they're looking for locations. When are we gonna, how long is that taking? And
They expected probably 30, 45 days before anything's put in place, and it's a 60-day project improvement where they review and look at numbers from there.
Okay, let me be very blunt about this, okay? I'm gonna take it off the fiscal officers, well, because I was the one to push this, so. Okay, I got
I'm
that,
listening.
okay. So I think it's a good tool. Here is my one concern. We're starting to hear stories in the media. It's not positive stories about how the data is being used and how it's being transferred to potential federal agencies. We are not in the business of border patrol. We're not in the business of dealing with immigration. That's not our space. It's not what we're trained for. It's not what we are charged to do. The concern there is the security of the data. And maybe it's a conversation to have with the company. But it is a huge concern. And it is, to be honest, I have heard this not only from the fiscal officer, but I have heard it from residents too, because I stuck it in the newsletter. And that's where I heard it. So their concern is the same as been raised in the media. And so the security and safety of it is paramount. We only use it for the purposes that we said that we originally intended to use it. If we have control over it, that's one thing, but I don't think that we have total 100% control over it. I think Block has control over it too. So there leads another party that we can't make determinations for. So I think it's a conversation that we need to have before we actually deploy the tool as a permanent tool. So
Do you want me to have them in one of our trustees meetings so you can ask the question?
yes, at a minimum. I mean, I'm not sure we're going to go with this because I think we also need to look at our options that are available to us. We probably have signed something at this point in time based upon authorization of the board. We need to understand our options to no longer proceed with that. It's a great tool, and I think it does wonderful things, but we live in a different world today than we lived a year and a half ago. Things have changed. Perceptions have changed. There's just some concern.
And thank you for saying that and taking me not entirely off the hook, but I want to be very, my concerns are twofold. Well, three if you count the money, but we've already talked about that, so you know that part. And I'm going to pick on words because words matter. It's not just stories. There's documentation and cited sources of how some of that information is being used, whether it is the choice of that police department or not. Separate from that, pushing that aside completely, I have also, because there are residents in my neighborhood that also receive the newsletter that Mr. Cheney puts out and others, I'm hearing concerns just about their own personal privacy. And there being this tool, which again has a valid purpose, but a tool that is also means that everybody going in and out is being watched. And whatever that may, and I understand, I'm just saying that it makes me wonder if there should be some sort of feedback from our community before we implement, because it's not just used for catching the bad guy, so to speak, in some cases. Now, I don't know how folks feel about that. If we want to do the test, if we want to rethink locations, but that's where my concerns are twofold. The one that Mr. Cheney very eloquently stated, and the other just in terms of general privacy concerns of our residents and whether they are on board.
And Chief, this is on me. I bulldozed this issue all the way through. Okay, so I'm responsible for it getting maybe to where it is. So I take blame for, I guess I didn't ask enough questions maybe It's about the security of the data. And I think that's where it is. If we could control the data, if you and your staff can control the data, I don't have any problems whatsoever. I trust you and your staff explicitly. It's having that other party that A, we can't control because they're a separate party. And two, those stories, if they're true, it's disheartening because it's not the original intended purpose. So it's for us to prevent and to fight crime at the local level with local law enforcement personnel. Was always my intent. So I think before we go off and do something permanent here, then we need to have the conversation. And to the fiscal officer's point, we probably do need to engage somehow the residents about their feelings about this. The money issue aside, I'm a liberal Democrat, so I like to spend taxpayer dollars. Everybody tells me. I still think it's a great tool. It's how it's harnessed and how it's confined. And that's the concern.
I
So,
will add to one last piece very briefly is you may have already seen it, but Ring made the public statement this week that they were severing their relationship with their plan partnership with Block because of I'm sure the outcry is there, candidly. But, that said, that also, perhaps changes what data is available for your purposes through that.
I
So-
can't speak on their behalf.
Sure.
The only information it looks for is what somebody enters. So if you've committed a crime and I have your license plate number, I can enter that. And anytime that camera picks up that license plate number, then we're all notified that that's a car that somebody's looking for. That's what I can tell you about the information. The only thing I'll say is not having them hampers our ability to do our job as well. So that creates.
And I get that, and I do understand that, and I know we've had the conversations before about, can you help me understand how many times access to that tool when you had it was used, and I don't think we were able to identify any, maybe that's changed. And so I'm, again, I don't have a vote, as I share a million times, right? But I do hear from our residents' concerns, so at minimum, these are their tax dollars that would be paying. They have a right to hear before we go and enter a long-term deal what we're doing.
so in an effort to get Mr. Roper back to the hospital here.
Yes.
Okay. If we could set something up in regards to having them come to a trustee meeting, first and foremost, that you understand the concerns and hopefully you can convey that to them and hopefully they can respond to that appropriately. We can also start thinking before our next meeting how best we engage our residents regarding this issue. So we can talk to the administrator, talk to Luke, talk to you and see what best tool is available to us to do that.
And truthfully intend to inform, because if they go by simply what they hear, then, they may be missing some of the positive aspects.
Yep.
So I'm trying to be fair to that, but just make sure that they have a view.
Sorry. Wasn't on the agenda, I know, sorry.
Not to rush. Nobody's pushing yet, but we are probably not gonna do it in the hospital because we got the little one and she goes to bed at 7. So,
Well, only one person has to stay in the house with the little one.
right. So like I said, it's not. I thought it was a little more further along, but
Okay.
live wash, live, let's go.
Take some time.
I think about
I know.
It's due yesterday. This was due yesterday too. Isn't that weird? We have to administrator now?
Yes.
Okay, look, we're under old business. Chet and I had a meeting with the AEP folks about the transmission line project. They are going to go underground. That is maybe to satisfy the wishes of the residents. But I think what they haven't realized, and AEP made this pretty clear, is that it is going to be a mud bath and a mess for a long time. The recovery from this phase will be much longer than the recovery if they went with poles. But careful what you wish for. Sometimes you get it. Well, I think you're 100%, and they recognize that. They're just concerned, AEP is concerned about the fallout from spring coming and yards still being tore up and probably into the fall before it's, I mean, they have to dig some pretty significant holes. They're going to do some boring. They're going to do some open trenching. It's a combination of, I think, 3 different processes, wasn't it, Chet?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a mess, but they've come to the conclusion that they will do underground just to satisfy the wishes of the residents.
I wonder how much more this is costing.
A lot.
A lot. He didn't give an exact number, but
And it's not the whole line, it's a significant portion of the line, and obviously you're having to try to figure out who's gonna get what yards are gonna be the sender and receiver of that flyer. So some are gonna have more disruption than others.
yeah, there'll be manholes and
Yeah. They're gonna have to sign off on easements, and to that point, we did commit to them that we would potentially look at sites where they could store both supplies as well as equipment. So you're gonna be drug into the conversation about get out the map, see where we can help them when they get to our part, and how long that timeline is and so forth, so.
okay. Under new business, we, I guess it's still old business. I'm sorry. State Route 161 project update. There is a new sheriff in town, so to speak. He's running the project now for ODOT. Chet and I had a conversation about it is probably best to ask him to come to one of our meetings in the near future here to really explain to the board where that process is, what the cost changes are, what the changes in the players are. There have been some entities that want to change their role. So I can't provide you with an accurate assessment of what's going on, neither can Mr. Cheney. So just so you know, we're going to set up a time at one of our upcoming meetings to have him come in and chat with you guys.
And he's having a baby. Well, his wife's having, they're having,
Yeah,
So
but not this week.
yeah. So,
I mean, you never know.
Everybody's having a baby.
Well, yeah.
It's not really
anyway,
up to any of us.
No, it's not. But
Worthington wants to do a John, you'll probably know, I mean, per right of way. So instead of a percentage of the cost of the project, which was like 55 and I don't know, 55, 40, no, that's not right. 55 and 40 or whatever. Columbus was the bigger, Worthington was the second. And then we had 10%, which we actually split with the county engineer. So we only had 5%. So now they want to do something that sounds kind of, their city council in Worthington has said, we're only paying for what's our right of way, which I get. Instead of doing the percentage, I understand their position, but we're small. And we only have 2 businesses on the north and on the south. And it's actually the same business. So our right of way is really not even our right of way. It's the county engineer's right of way. So I don't want to get stuck with a bigger bill because we didn't choose this phase of it. This was Matt Greason when he was city manager at Worthington that wanted this. And I said, okay, I'll support you if the next phase pushes us towards Brookside immediately afterwards. So players have changed. We need to have the gentleman come in from ODOT, explain what is going on. So, because they want us now to sign a commitment, a financial commitment letter. We ain't signing anything till we understand the rules of the game.
so there we are at 161, right where we were when we started.
Yeah.
Be that way.
Healthcare follow-up, we met with McGowan Braybender, Amanda and I. They are putting together, we have some new team members Stephen White is, he's from the Dayton area. He has been driving over here to help service us. So he is going to go back and manage some things in Dayton for them. We picked up 2 gals who are really sharp and eager to get started. So this was kind of like a pre-healthcare meeting to the healthcare meeting we're going to have in the very near future with the board and Miguel and Bray Bender to really talk about numbers and what our costs are going to look like in the upcoming year. Just based on our conversation at that meeting, it is going to be a high double-digit increase, they're thinking. When I say high, beyond the teens, probably. So that seems to be the trend. But they can't say that for sure. That was just Michael's guess based on what he's seeing across the board. Under new business, Amanda and Becky went to the OTA convention, and there was an organization there called Savvy Citizens, and it's a communication tool that our residents can sign up for. It's an app. They get on their phone. It's about a way of getting out notifications. So I put that on the agenda because it's kind of an affordable thing. But then today I was approached by a very progressive department head who said, hey, there's this thing called Nextdoor, and it's free, and we can set up our own page. And one of our new officers, this was her role at the sheriff's office when she was there, and she is willing to try to get this set up in management. I just think we have to do a better job of communicating with the residents other than e-blasts, because not everybody gets those e-blasts. Once you opt out, you can't opt back in. It's really a flawed system. And so a lot of our people really never hear from us. And I think we need to have some vehicle to get to them. And if Nextdoor works, I'm all for it because it's free. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to probably come back and we'll talk about this Savvy Citizen thing. I mean, it would run us, for our population, about $170 a month that you would break down between the 3 departments. And I think it's just something that we should explore. But when you see that on your agenda, that's what it's about. So we're going to kind of put that on a back burner for right now.
Next door though, we're like neighbors close.
And we get a lot of our residents early on.
He's shaking his head already. So.
Yeah,
Some of the stuff-
It's a mess. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
chaos.
It's crazy.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like that.
It's worse than Facebook.
Yeah, some of it is, you just wonder where people come from, but I think to reach our residents, we have a better reach through Nextdoor. And then we can explore, like Officer Schwab said, she did a lot of this at the county. The county got an app after they went through Nextdoor. There was enough interest. Like she said, she'll bring it up at civic association meetings and events to see, are you happy with Nextdoor? Do we need to do something else? So, but I don't know if you all follow our Facebook page, but she's been posting pretty regular and we've gotten a lot of engagement. So, quick note, she wants to do time capsule Thursdays. She just found pictures of the old fire department, some other things that she plans on posting
Nice.
tomorrow. So, yeah, this
Love that.
was one of the things she did for the sheriff's office. So she's very happy to do it for us.
I do think Nextdoor is likely a great idea. I know when I was running the Facebook for the Civic Association, I was trying to do Nextdoor too, and
Yeah.
I just did not want to immerse
Yeah.
myself in that chaos
Yeah,
anymore.
so I told her,
Lots of
it's just
crazy
like Facebook, you run a chance of people making comments or whatever. And she said, the county's rule was you just don't respond to the ones you don't want to. She said, you just leave. Okay. So I think we'll do the same.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Again, if it proves to be more headache than it's worth, I think we have another option to explore that's affordable, and it would be ours. The only information going out is what we send out. That's the advantage of, I think, the Savvy Citizen program. We've talked about continuing with the student internship program in 2026. Just so the board's aware, we will be putting out notification to the schools in March, that we will start to accept applications for that in April. Hopefully make our picks by the middle of May so these kids can get their schedules in line and get the program started as soon as school's out. So that's just kind of an update on where we're at. I do need some guidance from the board in regard to how many hours a week you think we ought to make these guys, make the jobs available, and what the wages will be for that program. And we certainly can go back to what we did last year. I think it was successful. I just, again, I think that's a board decision. So if we don't have to have that right now, but that might be something worth having a little discussion about.
What did we pay? What was the hourly?
The hourly rate was in the.
I knew you'd ask me that.
Was it 15?
It was 15 last year. Yes. But I don't remember how many hours. Do you remember that, Ian? She worked most of the time for you last year. She became quite the welder.
It wasn't quite 20.
Yeah, I think with her hours varied based on her obligations with a few other things she had going on. And I think maybe that's not a bad way to go. If they have a second job and, or if they're taking classes, you know, I think we cap it at maybe 20 hours a week. And let it be somewhat flexible. I think that might be a wise way to do it. But again, I don't know if we want to look at requiring 20 hours. You know.
I mean, I guess it depends if you're trying to get a certain function solved for and you need 20 hours, but I think the young people really enjoy the flexibility, right? Of being able to tie in with the rest of their obligations.
So it's $15 an hour, so good. You think?
I mean, I would think so. I don't know that there's been a material change in wages since last year.
Yeah.
Unless you
Make
want
it
it.
15.
15.
Yeah, at least we'll settle on that. Hours vary,
Maximum
Good.
20.
Huh?
Maximum 20 hours and
maximum 20.
maybe just to make sure if somebody's serious, at least say like 15 to 20 hours, something like that, put them in a range to make sure you're not getting somebody that only wants 2 hours a week.
Okay.
She came in. For
4 hours a day.
I thought it was.
Yeah, but there were days she didn't come in at all. Like I think she worked 4 days max last year because she had an obligation that she had to go to. But that was not yesterday, so I already forgot. So
These are juniors and seniors, right?
yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We already talked about the BZA, so that's good. And the last item I have, when we did our organizational meeting in January, we forgot to approve Becky Kent as a part-time assistant fiscal officer, working 25 to 30 hours a week at the current hourly rate of $46.58. So I need a
So
motion.
moved. Second. Vote,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so it is said, so it is done. That's all I got.
Motion for approval of payroll and disbursements.
Second.
Yep.
Vote,
Yes.
yeah.
You know, this is faster than when they have the bachelorette or the bachelor. I mean,
Okay.
like,
It's faster than.
Let's go.
the-
The funny thing is, all
So,
these, Kim's obviously not answering because she's probably trying to get like Kelly's bed. So my sister's texting, what's going on, where are they?
don't
You know,
think-
all these other people are like,
we gotta get you out of here. Okay.
not rough because
Don't rush.
I'm going back. I'm not gonna go to the hospital unless it's just probably not.
They need you to help deliver.
So, Mr. Chairman, so we had John back with us. This, if you recall, this is the conversation we started and we engaged John and his company to talk about the traffic / speed / safety issues over in the Brookside area, partly because, as Michelle can more articulately say this is that basically there's a lot of development around that area. McVeigh is many times viewed as a cut through between 161 and Snowfer. And as additional development is talked about, we want to at least look at some alternatives as far as confining the traffic and speed and increasing the potential of safety in that area. So I know you got a presentation. If you want to go through it, maybe we can have questions about where we head next.
If we want to be efficient, which it sounds like maybe we do, we might want to save questions all the way to the end,
Okay.
if that's okay. I'm gonna go over like really four main things. We said we split up the segments we were studying into a max of 5, which we did end up splitting into 5, and I'll go through how we did that. I'll go through each of these 5 sections, the things that we thought are viable solutions, as well as the things we considered dismissed on each of those 5. And then as we go along, if you're like, how come you never thought about X on any of these? The very last thing I'm gonna do is go through a few traffic calming measures that we just think are just not compatible with McVeigh. So that might be the reason to save some of the questions. Again, appreciate you guys bringing us along to do this. We really enjoy this type of work. It's that type of project where you feel like you're affecting the public, you know, in a really meaningful way. So we certainly appreciate being involved. Kind of where we're at in the process, you know, there was data collection that the township did with their trailer. Franklin County collected some speed data as well, a couple different times. We went through some data analysis to separate things, and we're in the bold area there, the traffic calming measure recommendations probably should be in quote, you know, because everything's up for input from the township and then input from the neighborhood. The next step would be meeting with the neighborhood focus groups. Once the trustees are okay and John's okay with where things are at in the presentation, then we'll wrap up with a final report. Just some of the data that has come along. ADT is average daily traffic. So McVeigh has about 1,000 to 1,500 vehicles today, a day, which is not high volume, but when it's a neighborhood, you know, that's felt, and peak hours are definitely, you know, there's traffic through there. We all know that. Of the data that was collected at these 4 different locations, you can see the average speed and the 85th percentile speed is pretty consistent throughout until you get, you know, down to where Muirwood is, you know, the average drops 1 mile an hour. So the average speed's below the speed limit. The 85th percentile is not very much over the speed limit. But as we know, you get 1 or 2 people that decide to go 40. And that's all you need before people are upset about it, and it could potentially be a safety concern. The county sent some people out to collect some data at these 2 4-way stops well, the headings are there for which intersections they were. Now, this is quite a lot of data, so maybe just focus on the last column here. Like at this intersection at McVeigh Boulevard West, the data for all approaches, people coming to a complete stop is just barely over 1/4 of the traffic. Rolling stop is, you know, almost 3/4. And then there's some people that are really, I mean, no stop is probably too strong of a word. That's the word the county used, but it's more of you weren't really a rolling stop. You didn't really even slow down a whole lot. You know, there was really no intent to stop. Now, this looks really surprising, but believe it or not, this is not all that uncommon. You know, if you think about, I mean, if I just think about my own behavior, the last time I came to a full stop was probably the last time he was on the corner when I came to a stop sign, you know, except for that, I'm rolling too. you know, I mean, if you're moving at all, you're considered rolling, and I think most of us do that. So the rolling percentage is not a surprise, but the no stop number is higher than you would see at most stop signs. So we do have an issue there with the stop signs going on. But we doesn't really have to do with the traffic calming recommendations, just we wanted to make sure you guys had that. Here's how the 5 segments were broken down. I'm gonna start with number 3 because a lot of them came about by process of elimination. 3 is the school zone, so it's naturally different because it's changing speed limit when schools releasing and people are coming, so we block that out as one specific section. Muirwood is obviously off, it's its own street, so we separated that one off. Now, number 5 down here, south of McVeigh West, it has a different characteristic than the rest of the corridor. Less housing density that's actually on the road. You know, there's the creek and it's wooded and it's just quite a bit different, has curvatures, quite a bit different than the other sections. So that kind of leaves, you know, 1 and 4 that are on the opposite side of the school zone. But they have their own unique characteristics too. You know, this is probably the straightest segment that we have, number 4, and then number 2 that connects up to Snuffer. It's got the curvature itself, so it's a little bit different. So that's how I'm going to run through these. But I'll start with 1. Just existing traffic calming measures that are there in section 1. There's the speed limit feedback sign that's in this segment. There's also a speed limit sign itself in that segment. Snuffer's a signalized intersection. The 4-way stop at Muirwood, and then a couple stop approaches that we're well aware of. Here's at least initially what we're seeing as viable options for traffic calming measures in this segment 1. Speed tables and speed cushions. These aren't speed bumps. Nobody uses speed bumps anymore because of the noise they create. There's a real tire slap. Columbus 10, 15 years ago went around all the neighborhoods they put them in and took them all out because they would get so many complaints from the residents that lived right there. These are a little bit more transitional, so there's less noise. There's still a little bit of tire noise, obviously. And the slighter transition is a lot better for snow plows. So this is what everybody's doing now, is what we call a speed table. Now, one of the disadvantages I'll get into on the next sheet of a speed table is, you know, it also slows and has an effect on emergency vehicles, buses, things like that. So we have what's called a speed cushion in most worlds. And the gaps between these speed cushions are set up at a distance that's wide enough for bus, truck, emergency vehicle, EMS to be able to blow right through and not hit the bump, but it's wide enough apart that a vehicle can't. Now you could get one tire in, but your other tire is still going to hit one of the speed cushions. It's going to slow you down. One of the downsides of this is obviously unless you're going to get a shovel out, there's no way to remove snow in between the cushions. So that's a consideration. I'll talk about some other pros and cons once we get to the next sheet. Lane narrowing that we have talked about since the very beginning, we think is a viable option here. This is not McVeigh, but just kind of a graphic we put together to show how this could happen. We have determined that in a neighborhood roadway in Ohio and even the national standards for things like this, we can go down to 9-foot lanes if we want to. We had discussed 10-foot lanes, I think, at one time, but we can go down to 9. So this could be an 18 wide gap if we wanted to. And then similar to a speed cushion, You can also do what is called a raised intersection, but it's basically just a speed cushion. You've stretched out the flat part of the top to fill the width of the intersection. One of the advantages of these is obviously it gets multiple approaches. Because it's at the physical intersection where a speed cushion's just getting McVeigh. Things that were kind of dismissed in this segment was a raised intersection at May Court. There's driveways there that would make a raised intersection difficult to put in and probably problematic for the drainage of the residential driveway. Raised intersection at Muirwood was dismissed because of the new curb ramps that went in there with the new sidewalk. They come down to the existing pavement level. So if we had a raised intersection there, then we'd have to, come back up at the appropriate ADA slope and, defeat the purpose of the bump. It wouldn't be quite as wide as it would be if those ramps weren't there. And additional signing, we already got speed limit sign, the changeable speed limit sign, the warning sign. So we don't think any additional signing is appropriate there. Of the speed tables, advantages, reduces speeds without enforcement. They're durable, relatively low cost, compatible with roadway drainage, no utility impacts. Like I said, there's still some noise, but not as much as the old school speed bumps that you still see on private property and parking lots and whatnot. Impacts to emergency response, bus travel, as we discussed. Little bit of impact to snowplow operations. Snowplow drivers like a flat street. So, something to deal with, but it does get signage on both sides. So the plow drivers would be aware of where it is in case we get heavy snow. They'd be able to identify and be prepared for that. And we would need to fit it in between driveways, which along, some sections of McVeigh, there's a lot of driveways. Speed cushion, some of these we talked about, but reduced speed without enforcement. Again, they're durable, low cost. A lot of the same advantages of the speed table. Bicycles can also shoot the gap. It's one of the advantages. Emergency response and bus travel can straddle this middle island, or even the outside island, but they tend to straddle the middle one, and maintain their speed when they need to. So that's an advantage there. And as we talked about, the snow removal is a little bit more difficult, but it's, a minor stretch of a width that you'd have to lead the snow in. Motorcycles can blow through. That's one disadvantage. If there's much motorcycle traffic and no speeds are a concern, this won't slow a motorcycle down at all typically. Again, we'll have to fit it in between the driveways. Raised intersection along a lot of the same advantages of the bumps, so I won't go through those again. One of the disadvantages is, again, there's the bump, so snowplow operations, but it'd be signed as well. The additional disadvantage that the other two don't have, you get a tall vehicle that's making a turn at a raised intersection. Their rear wheels are all of a sudden not hitting the bump at the same time, so you'll get this rocking, that a tall vehicle will make when they're turning. So you got a tall vehicle and it's stuffed full of boxes, that can be problematic. And for an emergency vehicle, if you're pulling out, you got a patient and, you got an EMS that's kind of rocking. It's something that you don't get with the hump and the cushion, or the raised hump and the cushion. Lane narrowing, again, reduces speeds without need for enforcement, promotes driver alertness. It does provide some space for additional users that we've discussed, and we kind of got to be careful with that. We can have some more discussions on that. Like when I was here before, the county brought up the fact that it wouldn't be ADA compliant for pedestrians. So we could never officially call it a pedestrian path or whatever. It would be a shoulder. And, you know, or we could, it could potentially be marked as a bike path. I believe that would be acceptable in this situation, but something we'd have to look into some more if we went with this type of option.
I know, you're supposed to wait till the end. It's not.
You guys are the bosses.
Could you shift that to one side or the other?
That's exactly the question I wanted to ask.
And we talked about that when I was first here, and we talked about lane. We could. The disadvantage of that is we know residents are using the roadway now. We know if we provide these wider shoulders, even though they aren't ADA compliant and we aren't encouraging pedestrian use, we know pedestrians are going to use it. So we have to decide, is it safer to have one real wide shoulder that pedestrians may use, or two, so that you don't potentially have to cross the street if you just want to walk up McVeigh. But yes, we could do either.
If you did a bike, you would put like those bike logos on it.
We could, yeah. We'd have to make sure that there's no ADA rules that are gonna crop into a bike path situation that we would have here, but I don't think there are. A disadvantage is it could potentially lead to some side swipe crashes, but you know, if you go outside of Columbus a half hour, there's roads all over the place that are only 18 foot wide themselves. And, you know, we aren't having side swipes on a consistent basis on those. So I think it's a minor concern, but still a possibility. Okay, going into Muirwood is section 2. It has a speed limit sign, stop signs, you know, at McVeigh and Snuffer. It's not as wide as McVeigh itself is. Some similar recommendations. You're going to see the speed table and cushion. I think that's on all 5. I mean, it's just so appropriate for what we have going on here. I suspect one of the overarching issues, you know we have cut through traffic. I think that's without argument. The only way to really reduce cut through traffic is you just have to make the route undesirable from a travel time standpoint. You make it longer, so then staying on 161 is just as quick or close, or you make it just unpleasant to go through. You know, and I know people that, you know, because I listen to this type of thing, being in the transportation community, where they say, oh, I don't go down that road because it's full of speed bumps. You know, even though they know it would save them time. So tables, cushions, raised intersections, the one advantage they'll have that probably none of the other options will have is we may be able to deter some cut through traffic. It's not a guarantee, but it's probably the only one of these that would have any effect on traffic volume at all. We could potentially put a speed feedback sign on this section. It might have some impact. One thing that's a little bit more aggressive and likely too aggressive for here, but we kept it as something to be considered, is a partial closure. You don't see these a lot in Columbus, but they're being used a lot around the country. And you just partially close half the road and don't allow one direction of traffic to come through. It's very effective at reducing volumes and reducing speeds somewhat. The problem with it here is whichever direction we were to block off, those people are probably just going to use McVeigh. So, you know, instead of cutting through on Muirfield to McVeigh, they're just going to go down the signal and cut through. So we're gonna probably increase the amount of traffic on section one if we did this. And I think, any of the residents along there are gonna, that's the first thing, where everybody's gonna come down my street.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that's a great idea. I think we actually ought to have a sign up there that's brought to you by Michelle Elliott.
There you go, with my phone number.
No,
other things we looked at, again, raised intersection, McVeigh and Muirwood, we got the recently installed curb ramps, so we don't wanna disturb or have to replace theirs. Since this route is already a little bit less wide than McVeigh, we could do lane narrowing along Muirwood. It's cheap to do. There's no striping there now, so we wouldn't have to even remove the center line like we'd have to do along McVeigh. We just have a couple stripes put in, and if we're restriping McVeigh, it would be dollars more to go ahead and do it on Muirwood. So it'd be cheap to do. We're just not certain how much impact it would provide, but still something I think, even though we have it in the dismiss column, still worthy of consideration. Partial closure, again, advantages are it'll eliminate one direction of traffic. As the chief's probably seeing, you can get some enforcement things, because even though you're not supposed to turn in here anymore, somebody's gonna do it. So you're gonna see that kind of thing. And if a vehicle's coming out, then you got a conflict. So this is no doubt an aggressive approach, but Muirwood is the only place this would be doable. It wouldn't be something we recommend for McVeigh.
you got as popular as that little ADA standing thing there that Mr. Roper talked about on Clifton. I don't think we want to do that job,
Okay.
but thank you.
Yep. We thought so. We thought that would
Yeah.
probably be the township's decision. And you can get some U-turns and stuff like that. So there are some issues. Okay, into section 3, which is the school zone. There's existing crosswalks in there. There's sidewalk that's been extended through the last project. There's a school zone, so the speed limits are different during specific school periods of time. There's an all-way stop at Millbrae, and of course, there's 3 stop approaches coming to McVeigh, with one being the elementary access and 24-foot width. Again, the speed table and cushions, lane narrowing, raised intersections dismissed here as well because of new crosswalks and sidewalks and curb ramps. We could potentially upgrade the school zone side signs with flashers, but we don't think it's going to have much of an effect on McVeigh overall, or probably this segment. We're certain the school would love it. So if you want to buy some goodwill with the school, that's probably a recommendation we might want to keep. But just kind of something we put in the, probably won't have a large effect column. Section 4, which is south of the school zone, there's a speed limit feedback sign in that. There's always stops at Darwin and McVeigh Boulevard West. A couple stop approaches that come in, and the road continues to be 24-foot wide. Again, the lane narrowing, speed cushions, speed tables again. We can put a raised intersection at McVeigh Boulevard West. Maybe a good solution for this section. Couple of the raised intersections we couldn't do at Maxwood or Darwin because of driveway locations in those areas. Raised intersection of McVeigh Court due to the recently installed curb ramps.
You don't put raised intersections and stop signs.
You can,
But the ones you're talking about, none of them are in a stop sign.
right. We've made the assumption that the multi-way stops were gonna stay in. Now, if for one reason or another, the township decide they want to remove those, then we'd probably relook at those for tables.
I'm just wondering if a raised table intersection, if you were to put one in with a stop sign, would increase
Stopping.
the compliance.
Yeah.
The compliance.
That's a big number. That.
That is a big.
And it would. And if we, you know, if we are concerned about the lack of stopping and or the roll throughs, then yeah, raise tables at those intersections, as long as there's not a driveway right across the street.
Right, right.
That, yeah, we would definitely talk about. that.
I mean, you could do it at McVeigh West and McVeigh.
Mhm.
And then, but you couldn't do it at Darwin, because you said there was driveway consideration. And then, is it Mackport next?
If you can't do it there, you
You can't do it there. Could you do it at
down
closer
the
to
other
now
end.
for someone?
Marwood.
No, Merwin. Merwin.
Yeah,
Is that what you mean? Or is that what you said?
in the curve. No, anyway, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah,
So
we,
you have two driveways right there, don't you?
Darwin,
Yeah.
two straight across there.
Then you, down at Merwin,
I think you had that as an option. That's section one.
yeah, isn't there a driveway? I mean, there's a stop sign
What is the stop sign?
and there's a driveway right beyond the stop sign. And there's there's a driveway immediately to the left of the stop sign and that,
Yes,
But they're not,
that's okay, as long as it's,
they're not in the intersection.
yeah,
but you're not,
as long as the driveway
driveway's not into the table.
coming into the bump.
Yeah,
okay, but if we want that table to facilitate that stop sign, doesn't that table have to be near the stop sign?
Well, it would be the intersection, we would raise the intersection.
how
inside the
wide is it,
intersection.
John, the table normally?
Yeah,
Full width of the intersection.
Full width of the
I
full
think we're-
width of the road.
If you want to see where those things are, I get my car wash at this movable, up the back way,
Right,
and
right.
whatever road that is.
Sutter Parkway.
Sutter Park, it is Sutter Park. Sutter Parkway has those, and they work. They're brick like that, you know, in the middle, but it's,
They work to stop people? Or they work-
well, all the ones there are not at a stop sign, I think they're just at an intersection or not. But it slows you down only because it's almost like you hit a bump twice.
Yeah.
Cause you hit it at the beginning, you know, so I think those are super effective. When I go home from here, I usually go down Hard Road and I cut through where the speed bumps are and, Old Stone Crossing. And those to me are a little less, I would say effective, but you just like, okay, well, I can just blow.
He's a
over
well
those.
What you're saying is you're the problem. You're talking about all these neighborhoods that you're cutting through.
On the record.
Well, it's strictly to understand the.
Public roadways.
How these devices work.
That's what I've heard.
That,
Blah,
He
blah,
does his
blah.
research.
That's a problem.
Yeah, Columbus has got them, you know, all over. Probably if I called their traffic calming people, I'd probably be amazed at how many they have in.
Well, the thing is too, they actually look kind of nice.
They
Yeah,
do.
you can make an
It's gonna break
aesthetic.
up the,
Right,
yeah.
they do look kind of nice.
Yep.
So I'm sure it costs.
So I don't want to jump ahead, but I get this out before I forget. When we talk about engagement, I mean, I do want to make sure that we're not just engaging the residents, but I think there's some other stakeholders. I think the school is a stakeholder, the safety service is a stakeholder, the road department's a stakeholder. I mean, all those folks somehow need to be engaged, whether they're engaged together or separately or whatever, but I just don't want to forget any of them in that stakeholding work group.
Okay. Yeah, glad to involve whoever needs to have. Cause
And-
more input to that.
I'm sorry. I don't disagree with you. I'm thinking we probably do at least one meeting with the residents without
Separately.
the others. And then,
Because if you bring all of them together, I don't know that the conversation would flow as readily or
Yeah.
freely or whatever. I think residents together speak a different way. And then if you have a chief in there with a uniform and a gun and a fire chief and
It's me. It's
You
me,
know.
guy.
so it's just different. So, but the older voices should be heard and should be thrown into the mix. So,
Yeah,
Okay, I'll follow it up with
Okay.
you after chat and we can
okay.
decide how we want to modify.
How, I'm sorry, I do this again. I'm sorry. How are we gonna get to choose the residents again?
I already have residents
Oh, never mind.
selected.
Skip it.
And
Sorry. Go
I
ahead.
need to give them tentative dates and then if somebody doesn't want to participate anymore, since I asked them a few months ago, then I'll replace
You'll
them.
fill it
But
in.
I've gotten folks from all the way down. If you remember my universities, I got folks from all the way down
Oh, that's good.
the road.
And if we're gonna do a separate meeting, it's gonna be mostly township or township related professional organizations,
Mhm.
hospital.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Probably want to do that before the residential meeting.
Okay.
We wouldn't want to come away from the residential meeting with a bunch of stuff they love.
Only to find out.
Yeah, well, we can't have that. You know, that's not gonna work for us, so I wouldn't want to, I want all the solutions well vetted that we're taking to the neighborhood, so we make sure everybody at the township's on board with it. We don't promise them something we're gonna take away.
Okay.
Okay,
That's a really good idea.
The table,
No, to approach it that way.
approach it. Yeah.
okay. Segment 5 is the most southern portion. There's a speed limit sign in that segment, couple stop approaches. Again, McVeigh continues to be 24 foot through there. Speed cushion and tables, just like everywhere else. We think we could benefit from a speed limit feedback sign down there since the other ones are sort of central to the whole McVeigh corridor.
Where would
Did
you
you
put
have
that
a
at?
specific idea, kind of on the hill or?
No, we'd have to look at it, but we think, you know, that could be effective down there because the other ones are significantly further up the road.
Yeah.
So we think it could be a consideration there. We can do lane narrowing down there. I'm not certain why we didn't keep that in for this one. There's no reason we couldn't narrow the lanes through there as well. But because of the way the residents are along it, it's flatter. There's no drainage swale like there is along the rest of McVeigh. There is some potential there to do what is often referred to as a splitter island. You just put a small island in, you stripe kind of around it. It would need a little bit of roadway widening potentially, and that's probably the only segment that would permit that. That does increase some costs, but that's just a different traffic calming measure that could be utilized
I'm
out
looking
there.
at you saying, okay, where's there a splitter?
They used to have those on Old Stone Crossing.
San Antonio.
You remember
Yeah.
I do.
Took them out,
Took
put the
'em out.
tables
out.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Also has
they took them out.
They took
put
those
the-
out, but-
Well, whatever,
I thought theirs were kind
Yeah,
of
that's what
odd
they're
though,
saying.
like
Not
they,
the- not the intersection. But
Right.
this,
It was an offset.
oh, yeah.
but they had those diamonds and they had like a sign in the middle
In the
of
middle.
it, and you had to like,
They
Sign
had,
got put down all the time.
right.
Like our plows wouldn't fit through that.
no,
Right.
no, that was very aggressive and I don't think it really stopped people, truthfully, but
They
anyway.
started treating it like a
Mhm,
Indy
a
five
race,
hundred.
yeah.
People would go on the other side.
So
Some people, I've
some
heard.
people you.
Some people, wow.
On the way back from getting their car washed.
Well, you gotta get home, and get it dry.
So I'm sorry, when you say the Splitter Island concept, is that like outside the Brookbend U? Is that where you're?
This is more just I'm thinking south of the creek, really. I
Right.
think that's where our head was, but it could potentially go anywhere in the corridor we think it would be effective.
Yeah,
Probably not in the,
no.
yeah,
So I was just kind of trying to picture where that would be. I would think that it would be outside that city of Columbus circle.
No. We're gonna have issues with traffic sliding off there, you're creating another little obstacle out. You have more people going on.
No, it would be down.
Yeah.
I mean, but theoretically, they might slow down for that first stop sign. But if it's there in the flat part. Okay, I'm sorry. We're not good at that.
So one more stakeholder. We're gonna have to somehow navigate the county engineer office. I mean, technically, it's the county commissioner's road. And their road to maintain, and it's our responsibility to maintain and all that too, but we're gonna have to navigate with them about. I think they'll do what we ask them to do. We gotta get their buy-in to do it. So
Yeah.
they can be prickly
Yeah,
sometimes.
I think we have some opportunities there that maybe we didn't have, say, a couple years ago, based on who the county engineer currently is.
Yes,
I'd like to,
so it's not gonna be, Adam's not gonna be a problem, but
yeah, I'd like to speak later about how best to approach
Okay.
the county. I have some ideas about, to bounce off of you, how might smooth out some of the prickliness.
okay.
Are
See
you
it.
thinking we need to talk to them first too?
Yeah, I think we probably need to talk to them before we talk to them, So because to John's point, we need to narrow down the options that are viable before we ultimately get to the residents and say, here's your menu. You know, and so what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll send Chief Petrosi down. I don't, his relationship with the county engineer's office is very strong.
Hey, Bugs, we golf together.
Well, that's true, but sometimes that doesn't get us everything we want.
Because we tore up their golf course.
Okay, we dismissed the raised intersection primarily because, where the City of Columbus U-shaped thing comes out, that's kind of on a grade. We probably wouldn't want to do raised intersections in a grade. So we, recommended we dismiss that. Splitter Island, that's the only one we haven't brought up so far, so advantages, disadvantages. Reduces speeds, promotes driver alertness. We would stick a sign on it because you don't want to plow in it, and when it snows a foot, you can't always tell where stuff is, as I'm sure your plow drivers have told you. So there's slight impact to plow operations, and we need to fit it in between driveways, which is, easier at the south end. And I think that was the majority of the reason why it was only recommended down here and not in the rest of McVeigh, because rest of McVeigh driveways are just continuous. Options considered but dismissed for the whole entire thing. So almost at the end here. The speed, the actual bump that we talked about, really very rarely are those used on public roadways anymore for the reasons that we have discussed. And I may have mistakenly been calling what we talked about so far a speed hump, but it's really a speed table. There is a small flat spot on the top of the speed table. A hump, which is just a longer rounded speed bump, tend to not be used anymore. For much the reason that I think Mr. Roper was talking about. With a hump, even though it's an extended bump, it's really one hump, and I even found at one of the streets that's got these up where I live, there's a certain pretty fast speed limit that you can hit it at, that's like sort of natural to your car, that you can almost not feel it.
How fast?
How do you know that?
But
Tell me more.
my wife told me. But if you have a raised part, and I'm not talking about a full intersection, but just a few foot on top, it's sort of like two bumps. So it's much more difficult to go fast. These are some of the things that I think you guys might have been alluded to on some of the other streets. If we had curb and gutter, we could do some of these. This is called a chicane, where you kind of make people physically wiggle through. It is very successful at slowing down traffic, but you really need to have curb and gutter for that type of thing to occur. And then it also, since we don't have sidewalks currently along the full length, this would affect bikes and pedestrians that are using McVeigh almost at the end here. This is similar to a chicane, but it's just called an intersection bump out. You just put some kind of physical little island in the intersection, makes people kind of wiggle around the intersection. Again, effective at slowing people down, but it's more for curb and gutter situation with sidewalks. You can see even this drawing has sidewalks all the way around. So probably not the best for McVeigh because of bikes and pedestrians utilizing the roadway. And these certainly are out of the question. And Columbus has done quite a bit of this in some of their neighborhoods. They even had a neighborhood where all they did was stick wooden planters in the middle of the intersection. And technically that's a roundabout now. It is effective at slowing people down, but the intersections up and down McVeigh aren't wide. So, the challenges for snow plows, challenges for any significant sized vehicles that would come through, buses would be somewhat challenged. They are made mountable, but nobody coming through in a bus wants to drag the rear wheels over that, even if it is mountable, and you get that rocking again that I was talking about. So we think these probably aren't the best for McVeigh, but it can be very effective. Very, very cost effective. Then there's something called a choker where you just put an island on both sides in the roadway way up. It basically serves the purpose of, like, if you're in Clintonville and you're going down one of the neighborhood streets and there's parked cars down both sides, and you gotta pull in the parking area to let the vehicle by coming the other way. You gotta do that. If somebody's coming the other way, one of you is gonna have to stop. So it's effective for that, but again, it's primarily in a curb and gutter type situation that we don't have. Not that it can't be done, but now when we got pedestrians that are using the roadway or bikes, now they have to get out, or they can walk across the island, but in a bike, you're probably going to swing out into the road, which is not desirable. So that is the end of the presentation. I know that was kind of long and a lot of information,
No, that's good.
but hopefully that was helpful. Chet had mentioned that we'll probably go over it with John and Andy
Yes.
separately, or Mr. English, since he wasn't here. And I'll get with John and or Chet, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. Try to do that quickly so we can.
Yeah, Andy's, he should be back next week, so I'll reach out to him, get some available dates.
And you can do it virtually. I mean, you don't have to,
Okay.
as long as you can walk him through it, he gets his questions out there. I think it'd be very helpful to get that holistic view.
Hey, John, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
I apologize. Would you please just include me on the invite if I'm available? I'd like to join just to listen to what Andy's.
What he has to say.
Yep, absolutely.
But don't schedule around me.
And then we can talk about the county engineer, talk about that conversation we'll have. And then, we'll ask Chief Rosie to get together with the fire chief, fire department, police department, road department, and the school district somehow, and have that conversation about what do you see the pros and cons of these options. And then Michelle will have you, hopefully by then, a group of people already signed up to hear the presentation, and you can get that feedback and see what everybody says.
And John, honestly, if you can include me when you're meeting with the other folks too, if I am able to listen in, I'd like to hear your feedback. I think that'll help us if residents are interested in options that we're not putting forth, then we can have more conversation as to why.
Easily done.
Thank you. Great.
Thanks, John. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
I do have one. It looks like if I just look at the stop sign data alone, I was surprised to find, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, that really there isn't, it's pretty consistent all the way throughout. the down McVeigh. You don't have a worse intersection, better intersection. You know, they're pretty consistently blowing through, or if they're blowing through the stop sign, they're blowing through all of them,
Yeah,
kind of.
even the side road too.
Right.
Kind of surprised me. I thought maybe we'd see it more along McVeigh than the side road, but it seems to be consistent, whichever approach.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about just even 1,250 cars going into the middle of your 1,000 to 1,500, 12% of that traffic
Yeah.
is a lot of cars flowing through. I mean, I can see why our residents are.
The interesting thing, and I don't know how you find this out, but I would venture to say,
How many
I
are?
guess 7% of them, if not more, are residents.
Oh, well, it's easy. Has to be, that's based on.
But the residents are going to tell you it's the cut through. But if you really got down to it and were able to take a look, at least that's been my experience when I was in law
Yeah,
enforcement,
I
you know?
Studies showed all directions of those intersections, didn't it?
yeah,
On the stop, so it showed cars coming onto McVeigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. You're right. I mean, like from the neighborhood, which for the
Yeah.
most part is gonna be the residents.
Not always, because people sometimes will go around just to be able to go through a stop sign.
If it's a driving, start, then they probably the only ones stopping. They probably skewed your numbers up on how many actual complete stops because of those drivers training kids. That are constantly
So John,
driving.
why do people, what is the number one or two reason why people don't stop?
Well,
Because I stop, I am a habitual speeder. I will say that,
He might come.
to the point that I will stop and talk to the officer that I see and say, how fast am I going? So I know my issue that I have to cognizantly slow down,
Do tell us, what is the?
you know, and
That's the first step, recognizing you pay for it.
I have a problem. So I do, but I don't, but I always stop because I have this fear of if I don't stop, I'll get in an accident or something. I mean, I don't
Well, I think,
understand.
again, going back to the days you push your
Speeding's
cruiser
not good
around,
either.
people look, if there, no cars are visible, people are gonna roll through it or blow through it. I mean, that's just the way it is. If I don't see another vehicle that is moving, I have no need to stop in their mind. Regardless of what the law says, and it's an obligation.
Or the
I've had people say,
behind a bush or,
Just
you know,
just a suggestion. I've had people tell me.
I've got, I still think the most violated intersection in Erie is Circle on the Green, Highview, and
That's that. people
because
blow
that's
through
the
that all
only stop sign on the entire 2.5 mile.
they probably just think there's
Club
no stop sign.
They know, it's all neighbors, everybody knows this, and it's just, it's almost like, it's this one stop sign, it's a pain in the ass, I'm just gonna roll through it. Cause I've lived there for 30 years, and I can see that. The one thing that, and people roll through it all the time, I mean, it's like, it's crazy, if you just sit there and just watch people. The thing that makes them either almost come to a stop, I mean, there's probably degrees of rolling. But if there's another car, like when I come out, to turn right usually, to get out, we're in the hills. If there's somebody coming either way, there's like, oh God, now I'm gonna have to stop because here's another car at the intersection.
That's other people.
A witness,
Yeah. And then usually I'll just sit there just to, and then they come to a complete like, all right, and then I make my. So,
On that intersection.
well, that's a big thing to make people stop in some respects when there's more traffic, because when there's no traffic on Highview or
Right.
Circle on the Green, really.
Well, the
People
only
just
other
blow
reason
through
that
it.
they stop is when an officer's sitting.
But I'm telling you,
They see the
that
curve,
officer
it's
is
like,
hard
oh,
to see, because they always park back by,
They know your car, so
by
you're lucky.
by the golf course.
Well, honestly,
But I
I'm
just,
probably better
and
at
it may be
stopping in the
normal,
township
John,
than I am
but
in
those
the
numbers are, to me, astounding.
house.
they are higher than typical.
The
What
ones
would
that
you
don't,
expect to be typical?
stop, there's shocking.
The blow throughs wouldn't be, those would probably be about half. I think we were running 12% here
Mhm.
roughly. That would probably be more like a 6. And the rolled throughs would probably be 20% lower, but there's still a lot of roll throughs. Most,
This is about 5 to 7 on a roll, on an average. So the 6 makes, yeah,
Well, the only other thing that stuck out, when we talked about this, that project got a little higher than I thought, so, you said between 1,500 and 1,000, call it 1,250. And if on the speed part, I forget it, but I thought it was like 12% that are above you had like people who were going, the speed limit was whatever percent. People,
Yeah.
the 27 mile an hour, and then for something, it was like 15%. That are going more than that. 15% though of 1,250 cars is
yeah,
150 cars.
Right, right.
And that's. And
That's a large number.
you
if you're
figure,
looking
you
out for
figure
anyone else, yeah.
about 8 hours of that, there's almost no traffic, So you got and you got 10 cars an hour that are,
Well, and when you think there's just around 400 houses total in the neighborhood. So it's not like you have, I mean, some of these are, of course, obviously, a lot of these are the residents leaving, going in and out, but you're talking about almost 4 times the traffic as the number of houses. That's not 4 drivers in each house, it would be there's not a way to tell, but it would be so interesting to know what percentage is of the traffic, not even just the speeders, but the traffic is the residents.
I think one of the things that would surprise you, that number's higher than you would think, because the majority of those houses have 2 vehicles leaving and 2 vehicles coming back. So that accounts.
Work at home these days. I mean, I'm not gonna say the majority, like every household, but a lot of them.
I'll tell you, the times I am out and about in the township, there are cars
Yeah,
all through your neighborhood all day long.
true.
So the people that work from home go to the store a lot.
I don't get to go anywhere.
your
Actually, I think that's
house
true.
produces 10 trips a day. Believe it or not,
said
your average house,
Must be the people
Produce
with young
10
kids
trips a
still
day.
that are having to take them to activities.
well, and it could be 8 Amazon deliveries as well.
Oh,
Those count.
okay, oh,
Those
yeah,
count as
then
well.
I'm up for that.
Oh.
That's.
If you're
it's in the-
I can say Alice makes it around table.
I don't go anywhere. Everything's delivered to me.
Would have been like a night of confession up here.
Those Amazon shipping boxes show up really
I
regularly.
still
at my
remember
house.
most people other, right, so.
Maybe you have the driving school driving up.
But again, they're the full stops. I'm telling you that they are like 15% of the complete stop.
Probably,
Those driving cars. I see them like 3-4 times a day. Just go.
so there's like.
It's a lot.
So John, not to jump to a conclusion, but those traffic tables, either having them at intersections or having them at other places. I mean, it almost sounds like a really good solution in so many different ways.
The raised table,
The raised table, yeah.
not the
I
cushion.
mean, hey, it looks
It
good.
looks good, yeah.
I mean, I think it could help with the rolling stop wherever you put that in an intersection. But also slow down I mean,
Recognizing it's the highest cost,
it's probably, yeah, the highest.
but
Well,
that's 2 of the 3 intersections. I think you said that was a viable. It's the one by the school that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
But if we just go with like a nail strip.
well, if we had to put it at the intersection of Circle and the Green and Highview, it would have to be made out of gold. So it's not as expensive as that.
That's right.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I think it'd be a combination of both things, if we like the raised intersection tables. We look at the locations where those could go. If there's any stretches where that's too far apart, then we'd probably put in a couple.
That's complicated.
Like city house or
Yeah.
table or
They see in the way of.
Actually,
Yeah,
So they're not putting in.
That's gonna be
one of those
different.
things that,
Maintenance costs, I think, are just blacked out.
but again, I went on a field trip and I saw those, those almost like those portable ones that are sort of on the road that goes off of High Street back to the Worthington Rec Center. Highland, those
Oh, yeah.
Those have those. They're only like that wide, they're black, they don't use those anymore.
Very rare. Usually it's private property, even though that's, is
Let's
public.
put those out for their test.
Those were tests.
Yeah, those are just a test.
But they're not that long ago.
Right,
That was,
they were doing that for their bike.
I can't remember, it was a test they were running
Yeah,
over there on Highland.
Those are pretty effective too, but those are, I can see why those would be a pain for snowplows.
I remember we talked about those first. So the lane, I mean, the lane narrowing is obviously the least expensive, right? That's because McVeigh isn't up on the list anytime soon for being repaved anyway.
Otherwise,
No. So,
four film piers out.
If you do lane narrowing, you, like, if you just did lane narrowing on the way, you keep it consistent pretty much on that whole street, right? Because there were some parts you said that were 18 feet, some part that were 24. You wouldn't want your,
No.
you want it consistent.
24 red, we take it down to 18.
McVeigh's 20, pretty consistently 24. It's, Marywood's 22.
You could do 9,
We can do
but it's lanes, so then it would be the 18.
I just thought there was some roads. Narrower in some parts and wider in others, but the point is you would want it consistent down that road.
Yeah, if we did 2 10-foot or 9-foot lanes, we'd want it to be consistent.
Is there double yellow down?
Yeah, and that's, yeah,
Are you talking about taking out the yellow center lane, center line?
That'd be something we'd have to kind of talk about. You know, it's, since it's not getting resurfaced anytime soon, to remove it is gonna put a scar down the middle that probably won't fade for a couple of years. It will fade. But it's more effective if we didn't have it.
Sure.
But probably moderately so.
Oh, you said like a first presentation, that's almost like a invitation and speed.
Right.
That, when you got the double yellow,
What it
that's,
looks like a
you
state
don't,
highway.
you don't see that in a residential.
thanks that, didn't you, that's kind of, what were we talking about? Yeah, okay,
But if we get down to 9-foot lanes, even with a center line, it's gonna feel tight. Nobody's gonna mistake it for something that should be a 55-mile-an-hour road, which now it kind of looks like it could be if it wasn't
it
for all the.
does, yeah.
Yeah, but you get 9-foot lanes, even if we left the center line, like, okay, this is tight.
Because I think Snuffer has a double yellow. So like, and it has a higher speed limit and you turn into the neighborhood and you know. Stating the obvious, but so. I mean, I'm just thinking because of course. This is the solution we'd really like to have and maybe we get there someday. And then there's what do we do to try to help stop the bleeding, so to speak. So just thinking about that, the lane narrowing is not free, but the easiest path for some immediate solution.
And lane narrowing is nothing more than. just-
I'm always wanting to spend money. How expensive?
The liberal too,
As a
like,
general, as a general rule, how much, considering the width of this, would a intersection table, speed table, how much would that cost?
I had those figures when I was here last time and I didn't bring them this time. I should have. And I can't
Is it
remember.
like 10,000?
I think it's in that range. Yeah, I can't remember.
It's only 10,000.
I was thinking it would be more, to be honest.
Get a bunch of them.
Yeah, don't,
Yeah,
let me get those to
Yeah.
you.
I suppose it depends too, though.
on the,
It does.
You always have brick in the middle or something like that, I mean, that's
we're
what.
doing gold.
Yeah, if you pretty it up, it's more.
I would think the maintenance cost
Yeah, that,
of the brick would far exceed the maintenance cost of.
just
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean.
Or you could just do it center. Cement, I'm sorry, concrete,
oh,
Well, that would be substantially more expensive.
but that would be less expensive, I bet you, than brick, wouldn't it?
Well, the brick that you see in most of them is stamped asphalt that's been colored.
Oh,
hey.
I'll be darned.
But the red will kind of wear off
Yeah.
after a while, so there's still maintenance. But not as much as if it was.
They're not actual brick.
Now, actual work is more expensive than cost.
Sure.
So what's that over here?
Yeah.
That's probably,
I don't know, I'd have to look. If Columbus did it, I bet it's stamped asphalt.
I just assumed it was.
Can you go over and wash your car tomorrow and take a peek?
I need to watch.
Those new grandbabies can't get in your car if it's dirty.
Are you gonna have to buy a van?
I'm just gonna have a soccer mom van.
Are you gonna get all those
Getting
kids in your
grandpa
Volkswagen?
plus.
It's 3 car seats.
It's okay. Kim will do it. Kim will do anything for those grandbabies.
She's got a 3-row Acura.
You could,
Yeah, let me tell you, those car seats don't fit. I got rid of my Acura for that years ago. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
so first things first, let's get with Andy.
Yep.
Get his feedback, and then county engineer, and then safety services, school, road department, and then residents. In series, so, okay.
And then are you able to share, just email those cost estimates just so we can?
Yeah.
You had an idea. Okay.
We've got your traffic calming pole. They have a lot of cost estimates. More shit to it.
Okay.
Speed tables. That's what-
That's right. You shared that with, okay.
A lot of the different devices we talked about is in their policy with the speed estimate. With the-
Thank you. I still have that because you said it before. I need to look. So we're not gonna quote you and you can change your opinion, what, from a snow road perspective.
I've got a problem with the raised intersections or the things. The lane narrowing. Moving the center line. I like the idea of that better, but if you have a center line with a 9-foot lane, we're running a 11-foot plow down through there. Do the cars coming at you know to get out of your way because you can't go any further.
Action.
That could be a problem.
Okay.
You could actually go further to the edge because you're not eliminating that blacktop. You're simply putting it straight.
Lane closer to that edge when we do a 9-foot.
Now, what I'm saying is,
You're not removing it.
you're not removing the asphalt, so you can run the edge of your blade
To the right
down
of
the
right
center
line.
lane and still get your entire 9-foot lane in the berm and still keep the other lane. I guess I'm not really following.
Well, like right now, running the edge line and the double yellow, we're running right on the center line.
But you would still be able to do that.
There's not much room for us to move over as it is now.
But you would still be able to do that.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
With
be
a
taking-
9-foot
I see what you're
lane.
saying. You wouldn't be taking away that asphalt
Right.
in the berm.
You're still able to do that.
Oh, we would be running the edge. My worry is if you have a yellow line coming at you and I'm running over that yellow line,
You wouldn't have to run over that yellow line. You're
Run over the edge line.
gonna run over the edge line.
You're gonna have 2 foot of your flag.
Here's your yellow line. Then I
I
have
could-
this line here, this is berm.
Easier said
This
than
berm
done.
gets through.
We'll send him. He goes everywhere.
That's true.
So you put your plow here.
Stop signing
so
it,
you
apparently.
Here.
I was surprised.
So plowing
Last.
John, thank you.
You're not in the grass, you're still on the black, so just the problem of the existing width that is right now. I appreciate real. Does that make sense?
I mean, it does, but like,
Okay.
It's crazy.
there was one part.
Even,
Yeah.
The extra to
Yeah.
the,
you know, I said, we had that last heavy. snow.
Oh. No, I think that idea of narrowing the lanes is to go both sides. No, if you're 100% correct, if they did one side, wouldn't work. Would not work for you. It'd be a huge problem.
I guess I was kind of for that actually at first, thinking, okay, well, they're kind of along the same side as the sidewalk, and then you've got like a whole space, but you're right, people are still gonna walk on the other side, and there wouldn't be an area, and we're gonna have people crossing all over and.
Yeah. No, if lane narrowing is the route we choose to go, then I think you go equal distance. It's
that's the case.
9 feet from the center.
Your plow.
The one we're running in Brookside is 11 foot.
And that, right now, that blade facilitates the entire lane. Yeah, from the center line to the edge line.
Yeah, Brookside, we can run up and down most of the streets, or in Worthington Hills, to get it pushed all the way back, we have to run each side twice.
For maintenance.
Well, that's why we run the 11 foot down there in Brookside versus Worthington Hills is with 11 foot, we'd still have to go twice.
Yeah.
And
That makes sense.
But does that make sense? I mean,
oh, yeah,
again,
if it stays equal side, yeah, we're fine.
yeah. And I think that ultimately was his point. You don't want to go one way.
What's going on?
I
Um,
love her.
I don't know.
Thank you. So, anything else? Are we
We
adjourned?
need to adjourn.
Anything from Mike?
just need a motion.
Second. Well, yes.
Yes.